Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful performance. For you, you had to act very sick at certain points and deal with all the things that were going on in your character's life. What was the biggest challenge for you? Did you find one part of it was more challenging than the rest?
Well, for me, the emotional scenes were the hardest for me. To get in that kind of feel for it, I had to think of a part where I was really sad, or maybe another time where I was really sick.
Yeah. And kind of reconnect with that
Yes.
and find it for your performance.
I mean, the first thing was, with tackling the movie with kids, there's a couple things that I tried to do. I knew I wanted to tell a story about a relationship of a kid who evolves. I love films that have transformations and have arcs with the character. You can really clearly see from the first scene to the last scene is completely different. So I love the idea of of a person, of a young kid who believes that no one would help and he feels like he can do everything by himself and he's so isolated. So with that being said, I knew I needed an actor who can really bring everything through the eyes, through the performance, and be able to understand the subtext behind the scenes. So when doing a kid film, there's two things that I was able to think about is sometimes with kids films that sometimes the body language of kids and how they move around there's no focus there, or sometimes the performance, because of the tone, it can be kind of corny or it could be one way or another. And I knew this was an adult film where kids can be able to embrace, so I knew I had to have the right actors, So right off the bat, I was able to see a short film that Skylan did where he played a character that didn't really say anything but one word in that short film called Duck that I really liked. And I just thought he was pretty amazing. In that same audition room, Pete came in on that same day when we had auditions. They didn't even know each other. So they came in and immediately I put them together for chemistry. And they had immediate chemistry where Skylan character, Mr., was always about what's not being said and keeping things inside, where Pete at the same time was a subservient to Mr. So you had all this with less dialogue. So a lot of that was just breaking down, and being that we're from Los Angeles going to New York. We spent a lot of time talking to kids that were in this situation, kids that were left alone, or sometimes their mom would be able to go away for a little while or be in addiction programs or just sometimes leave. And they'd be left with friends or they'd be left with grandmothers or neighbors. So we met a lot of kids in Red Hook Project on East Brooklyn. And we spent a lot of time with some kids in Marcy. And we were able to talk about that. And the great thing, I was able to have a dialogue with these kids like if I was directing adults. And they were able to take all of this and be able to bring that out into scenes and really make it feel subtextual and be able to put what's behind the words. So that was that boot camp that we set up, and all the way down to skateboarding, consulting for skateboarding, learning about, for Pete, mom being on meth, and for Mr. on heroin. The parents were great in having me have the complete time to really understand these different events. So it was a big process. I was talking to a lot of the younger kids, and we were talking. They just keep moving, no matter how tough it is. They don't really think about the situation of the addiction or just the ideal of crime, the ideal of you got to run from the housing authority. Some of the housing authority police officers are not some of the nicest guys. Constant break-ins. It's really, we felt like we were joking. We said it's like almost Home Alone, and that's what they were. They were home alone, and they have to survive. So as a filmmaker, sometimes as a kid, you just learn from that sometimes you just stay in the moment. Don't think about the obstacles ahead. Don't think about the past mistakes. Just think about the moment, and that's why Mr. is able to reach out to his mom and forgive her at that time.
And for you guys, I know that either dance or martial arts that you guys have studied, the physicality of that, did that help you get to the authentic portrayals that George was talking about, like the way that people move across the screen and things like that? Do you guys think that your training in that helped you?
Training in dance, for me? Definitely running. Like running in a movie. Running up the stairs, running from the cops. Running, period.
For me, yes, the running is, my martial arts really helped me with that, because we have to do laps, I think, with exercises every day before we get into our moves or whatever. And I think martial arts just kind of made me tougher in this movie, Yeah.
I'm sure it's an ordeal just getting the movie done. And for you two, what have you found since? I know you mentioned Jimmy Kimmel. You were on the Jimmy Kimmel show.
last Wednesday.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's really fun.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like when you walk out, it's like tons of people and cameras, and you're like, what's going on here? But it was definitely an experience, I think, for both of us, and it was so much fun. Talking to Jimmy and just looking at the audience for me.
Jimmy Kimmel stepped off the TV screen for me. And you get to see things that you think are on TV, like when you watch Jimmy Kimmel in the background. I thought it was a window, but it's basically just a painting. And
It's a bitter disappointment,
yes,
isn't it?
and the guests I thought they walk out of an elevator. It's just a door that goes up, and it's pretty boring. But
With this and the traffic, you really have to wonder
Yes.
what this whole Hollywood thing is really about. I mean, I'm a big music fan. I remember talking to you before about music, some great music in this. Was there a song that you were particularly happy to get for the soundtrack or the score?
Yeah, originally there's a song that Jennifer Hudson character listens to every time, and originally it was a Hall & Oates song called, She's Gone, in the script. So it was an awesome song, and I was like, I love Hall & Oates. And I wanted to get in touch with him at some point. Actually, we did, and he was able to make some room availability for us to use the song. But we got an editing room, the way we shot the movie, the tone, being in New York, being in an environment, that song just didn't fit. By chance, my editor put in Otis Redding, which is my father grew up being in Milwaukee. My father's an old soul collector of music. Wow. Otis Redding just fit. That's one thing I would like to say to filmmakers is that if you have any problem, just put on an Otis Redding song.
That works with a lot of things.
He will work for everything.